good morning. We're here on a farm today. This ash tree, Fraxinus excelsior. It was originally going to get felled out because they converted the farmhouse into like, well, they just updated it. I think it's going to be an Airbnb. But as you look at the canopy of the tree, it's overgrowing this farm roof, this farm building. So, at the minute, ash dieback disease is sweeping the country, and that causes dieback from the top down from the tree. It's basically like tree AIDS, and then it'll succumb to a further infection that it can't fight off. But this tree is one of the really only ones in the area, I suppose, that hasn't shown any symptoms of the ash dieback. So it'd be a real shame to fell it out, because the genetics of that tree are obviously have some sort of resistance to the disease. But, we're going to do 25-30% reduction on it. Try and clear everything off the side of the farm building, because if the tree does succumb to ash dieback in future, then they do start dropping limbs, so they're going to be going through that farm roof. So we're going to do the reduction on the tree, cut limbs back to growth points. That's where like a fork goes off in the tree, and then that'll explode with new growth, then regenerative growth, and then that'll proliferate. We'll get a right nice round canopy, hopefully, if ash dieback doesn't set in. We haven't got any room to manoeuvre. You can see there's only about 2 foot there, and there's a farm building, so everything's got to be lowered down, thrown into the field, chipped into the trailer. But there shouldn't be any accidents, because we've got all lowering gear. Everything's going to be roped off and pulled down into the field nice and safely, so we shall come back and see how we get on. Right, so we've started the reduction, and then as we were climbing up, error on my part, we've come to have a look at the job. But the limb snapped out, and then when you look it down from the top, it's split right over the crown. Because we take every the weight off it, when it regenerates, it could end up splitting out. So unfortunately, the trees will be coming down. Its integrity's damaged, which is such a shame, really, because as we said, it's not showing any signs of dieback. But we can't risk of leaving the job and then it collapsing, so failing. Sorry. So what we've done, because where that split is, we can't tie a line onto the main stem, because it'll probably end up snapping out. So I've had to brace the 3 limbs up in the air with a horizontal rope, and then we're going to pull off the horizontal rope with the lowering line, so hopefully that should pull it over more evenly. So we will see what happens. Roll this bugger over. Oh, right, so if you can see the damage now, it's on the ground. So what it looks like here in the past is there was another limb similar to the big limb that's blown out. That must have been a long time since. That's got like 30-40 years worth of callus in there. So it's a long time ago, with the canopy filled in around it. Where it's torn it out, have a look under here. You can see there where that split is. Well, looks very similar to that. So there's 2 limbs open there and a nice big gash there. But that's split right round, so you can imagine all the force that's pulling on this crown point here. It's a surprise it hasn't split it out, but we didn't want to reduce it. Then in years to come, like in 10 years time, it wants pruning it again, and failing then. But as you see, you can get your finger down there. So any water that comes down this limb is going straight down there into that cavity where it snapped out, and have a look up here. You can just see that on there. So this point here, I don't know if you can see that, is the right sweet smell. So that's an infection called ganoderma, and what that does, it's a fungal infection, and it enters the tree in like a point of duress. So where that limb snapped out, the water will be running down into that cavity where I just showed you, getting down, and then it causes the decay then. You get like a right nice sweet smell. And whenever you get ganoderma, there's always wasps and bees coming. Look at that, they've turned up already. So we better get this cut up before we get stung. But the interesting point about the ganoderma fungus is it doesn't fruit until the tree's completely decayed and got down to ground level. So it almost has its crowning glory. So it'll decay the whole tree, and then once the tree's decayed, which might take like, I don't know, 10, 20 years, then the mushroom fruits then. So it does sound like a bit of a savage mushroom, but in the actual ganoderma fungus itself, it's a potent anti-cancer treatment. It's been used for like hundreds and hundreds of years for treating cancer, especially in China. So not all nature's bad. But so what I did here was put the gob in, and then I did what's called a letterbox cut, because I've had to set this dodgy scaffolding trestle up here. I didn't want to be doing too much work at the back, so what I can do is I can come in with my bar to the extent of the bar, so it came to about here, then just wiggle it around, and then what that does, it aids my back cut, and it makes, especially on hardwood trees, it makes it a lot easier to fell them. And if you have a look at that, there's plenty of holding wood, because I didn't want to come too far through with my back cut, because a lot of the weight was back over the building. So once we started pulling on the tractor and the pulling line, luckily that rigging system worked perfectly and pulled it overbalanced. But there's plenty of holding wood there, and it came over textbook. So we're going to get this chopped up now, and should be done for end of the day. So let's sit in a bit. So this is classed as like a dangerous tree now. So you, believe it or not, you need a special ticket to cut these up, and because it's tension and compression is different, it can be quite dangerous when you're chopping them up. Plus each limb that you take off unbalances the tree. So what you do with like dangerous trees, you work from the top down, and clear areas around you, so you're not tripping up over the brush. Because if something lands on you, then you're going to be in a pickle. So we'll get cutting, and hopefully there's no pickles. End of the job, a big pile of firewood. Everything went smooth as butter today, and like I said, ganoderma had infiltrated the tree. And how that fungus works is the mycelium decomposes the heartwood of the tree. So the heartwood is when the sapwood, once it gets to like 20 to 50 years old, the tree turns sapwood into heartwood, and the heartwood's like the main skeleton of the tree to add vigour and rigidity. So when ganoderma attacks the tree, that decomposes the heartwood, so the integrity of the tree is diminished, and that is typical. Have a look. That's typical of a ganoderma infection. And there's some other mycelium there, of some other fungus that's infiltrated. But with ganoderma you get like a real sweet smell. And there's bees, there's a honeybee there, there's wasps, there's all sorts coming along Now, bees are suffering from a disease called colony collapse, caused by varroa mite. And a chap in America, named Paul Stamets, is a mycologist, so he studies fungus. And he was walking in the ancient forests, the old growth forests, and he noticed there were loads of bees. There's an old bear strike on a tree, so a load of bees like drinking at the sap. So he took some scrapings of the bear scrape, grew them on in a petri dish, and it was ganoderma fungus that the bees were actually eating, whatever bees do. And it's believed that ganoderma stops the varroa mite from causing colony collapse. So this fungus, although it's a killer of trees over the long term, it does have its uses, and like I said before, it is used as an anti-cancer drug in the Far East. So if you're pruning some trees in your garden, if we just come over here and have a look. So obviously these smaller branches from up the top of the tree, and at the centre of each log you can see where that ganoderma has started degrading the heartwood of the tree. There. So if you're pruning any trees in your garden, and you do see any staining that's not in keeping with the tree rings, I'd get an arborist in to have a look at it, because you could potentially have an infection and it could cause failure of the tree. So we're done now. It's absolutely boiling hot, so we're going to go and get an ice cream because we've been working very hard today. Right, we'll see you later.